Hello everyone and welcome to Life Begins at 20. My name is Mark and today I have episode 9 of Booster Pack Friday. Last week we opened a pretty decent pack, but I'm still looking for a few cards to add to my cube, so hopefully we can open one of them in this episode. First up we have Malfunction. So for 4 it enters the battlefield and tap target permanent. It doesn't untap during its controller's end step. Really piece of good removal here just to tie down something that's really big. The only downside is that it can still use, if it's got mana abilities, to still be able to use them, but still pretty good. Next we have Night Market Lookout. So for 1 we get a 1/1, and when it becomes tapped each opponent loses 1 life and gain 1 life. Pretty decent 1-drop, but nothing too exciting. Next up we have Eddy Trailhawk. So for 2 you get a flying 1/2, and when it enters the battlefield you get 2 energy counters. Whenever it attacks you may pay 1 energy. If you do, target attacking creature gains flying until the end of turn. I really like this card even as a standalone, just because flying is a really good ability to have, especially for other creatures you've got. Giving it 2 energy, so it can, for 2 turns you get something that might be able to go straight over the top of your opponent. Pretty solid card. Next up we have Inventor's Goggles. So for 1, take a quick creature gets +1/+2. Whenever an Artificer enters the battlefield under control you may attach it for free. So it's a pretty decent card, especially with the amount of Artificers that are in the set itself. You might be able to swap around a fair few times for free, which is quite handy, so I would quite happily pick this. Next up we have Thriving Turtle. So for 1 you get a 0/3, and when it enters the battlefield get 2 energy counters. You can then pay those 2 energy counters when it attacks to put a +1/+1 counter on it. Fairly decent to be able to get 2 energy for 1 cost and a blocker, but other than that it's a pretty average card. Next up we've got Tidy Conclusion. So for 3 and 2 blacks you get to destroy target creature and you gain 1 life for each artifact you control. Later on in the game if you've got a load of artifacts it's great, and even just as a 5 cost piece of removal to get rid of one of their bombs is great. Do like having removal, and there's a plus side to it, so not too bad. Next up we've got Kujar's Speed Sculptor. So for 2 you get a 1/2, and it enters the battlefield you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Strong card because you're getting 2/3's worth of power for 2, and it can make one of your other creatures a lot bigger, so I would quite happily pick that. Next we have Spontaneous Artist, which is a 4-cost 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield you get 1 energy counter. You can pay 1 energy and target creature gains haste until the end of turn. Pretty decent if you're trying to be really aggressive and bringing in cards that need to have haste, but other than that, not necessarily going to be my first pick. Next we've got Appetite for the Unnatural. So for 3, as an instant speed you get to destroy target artifact or enchantment and gain 2 life. With the amount of artifacts that are in this set, you get to get rid of something for 3 costs, which is great, and gain 2 life. Perfect way of killing that Smuggler's Copter. Next up we have Self-Assembler. So for 5 we get a 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield you might search your library for an assembly worker creature card, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Might be decent in a standard deck or something that's constructed, but in draft or limited format I wouldn't pick this at all. First uncommon we've got Era of Innovation. So for 2 you get an enchantment, so whenever an artifact or an artificer enters the battlefield under control you may pay 1 and get 2 energy. Then you can pay 6 energy to sacrifice it and draw 3 cards. Pretty decent as a way of getting lots of energy. You've got a way of using that energy later on in the game as well, so it's a pretty decent card. One of my favourite cards now from the set with Aerial Responder. So for 1 and 2 white you get a 2/3 creature with flying, vigilance and lifelink. I would more than happily pay 3 mana for that. It's just an all-round great card. Next we have Iron League Steed. So for 4 you get a 2/2 with haste and fabricate 1. The haste is pretty decent. I mean, it'll be either a 3/3 or a 2/2 in a servo. Great thing to sacrifice if you need to for artifacts or pump up other spells, but certainly wouldn't be my first pick. And for our rare we've got Insidious Will. So for 4 you get an instant where you get to choose either target counter spell, choose a new target for target spell, or copy that target instant or sorcery spell and choose a new target for the copy. Fairly expensive for each one of these. I think it's more the fact that you've got the flexibility now to choose one of them at the coming situation, but wouldn't necessarily be my first pick. And then we've got a Swamp and a Servo. There was a lot of plausible picks from this pack, but I have to go with the Aerial Responder. For the price, it's an all-round great card. I'd happily pay 3 mana for a flying 2/3, but to gain Vigilance and Lifelink on top is fantastic. It's not going to win you the game on its own, but your opponents will have to deal with it. Plus the artwork is great, and who wouldn't want a Flying Dwarf? There was lots of great choices in this pack to be able to go in a fair few directions, so let me know in the comment section below what your first pick would have been. In the next Booster Pack Friday, I'll do something a little more special to mark its 10th episode, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, as you'll be notified when this video is uploaded. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.